Okay, the recording's up and running. So welcome everyone um, to the Minnesota Outreach Skills and Stewardship Series. Today's topic is Take a Kid Fishing. And I'm going to turn it over to Linda Bylander to introduce herself and our guest speaker for today.
Thank you, Craig. Hello, everybody. I'm Linda Bylander. I'm the coordinator of the Becoming an Outdoor Woman program. And today joining us is Mario Travaline, who's a fishery specialist out of West Metro office, and he also helps coordinate the Fishing in the Neighborhood program. As Craig mentioned, today is all about the Take a Kid Fishing program and the Fishing in the Neighborhood program. So this weekend, the DNR hosts Take a Kid Fishing Weekend. It starts Friday, June 11th and runs through Sunday. And it's an opportunity for adults to go fishing without a license if they are accompanied by a child age 15 and younger. So it's a great opportunity to go out and try fishing for the first time if you never have. So what Mario is going to share with you today is resources on especially the metro area, the Fishing in the Neighborhood program, lakes in the metro area, how to find fishing piers and such, and also how to find loaner equipment. And as Craig mentioned, our links are in the chat button. So if you open up the chat, you'll find these links. So a great resource after this program is completed today is to go on the DNR website, open up those links. The Learn to Fish program in the link is a great opportunity to learn about different species, how to fish for a particular species, and how to use Lake Finder and so forth. So I welcome you all today, and I'm going to turn it over to Mario.
Hi there, thanks for having me. I'm going to talk to you today about Take a Kid Fishing Weekend, which was just mentioned, and Fishing in the Neighborhood program. And what we're going to cover a little bit is what Take a Kid Fishing Weekend is here in Minnesota, and how Finn can help you plan an outing to figure out where you're going to go fish or where you might want to go fish. It's a really good resource for you to do that. So I'm going to give you a little presentation here, show you a couple videos, and then I'll open it up for Q&A session, question and answer. If anyone wants to get any more information from me while you have me here today. So Take a Kid Fishing Weekend is this upcoming weekend, June 11th through the 13th, 2021. And the important thing to mention here is that if you are 16 years of age or older, in Minnesota, you need a fishing license to fish. And even if you're helping someone to fish, it doesn't require a license. If you're holding the pole, and a lot of times even handling the fish and things like that, you're going to find yourself holding the pole. You need to have a license. But this gives you a nice little opportunity to do a lot of different things as far as fishing goes without having to incur the fee of a license. Maybe it's the first time you're trying fishing, or maybe you haven't fished for a while and you maybe want to get back into it. This is a great opportunity to do that. So you could do that this weekend without a license. If you have a youth with you that is 15 years of age or younger, it's a great opportunity to have a fun activity to accomplish catching a fish, which is in my life has been a very rewarding thing, and it's just a great way to get outdoors. Hopefully with someone you're close to, and to mentor youth, perhaps a child, or a family member or something like that, to kind of get out and enjoy some of the great resources that we have. So I have the link. The links are, once again, in the chat to all these that I have in the presentation. But if you look there, there's also more information about Take a Kid Fishing Weekend at this link here, much more than I think I'd want to bog you down with on this particular slide. But to kind of keep moving along here, it's a blank screen. That's what you should see. I'm going to share with you a little video to introduce to you what Fishing in the Neighborhood is, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But here it is. So there you had a brief introduction to what fishing in the neighborhood is. And from here on out, I'm just going to refer to it as fin. It's just a lot easier to say, rolls off the tongue a little bit better. And it's kind of a cool play on a part of a fish. But it is our urban fishing program in the Department of Natural Resources, which is where I work, if there is any confusion. But it includes around 70 lakes and ponds throughout the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. And while we have a lot of specialists statewide that do the types of things that fin does, the fin program is specific to these 7 counties and Minneapolis and St. Paul. There's 2 areas, once again, East and West Metro, and currently there's 3 staff. There's 2 leads, and then there's me. I'm the fishing in the neighborhood specialist. It kind of gives you an idea of where we operate and where we can find these lakes. But it's a big subset of lakes, and they are meant to be close by to where a lot of people live. These are all over the metro area, and you may already be familiar with a lot of these ponds, and maybe not have known it unless you saw one of our signs or had happened by them. You may be really close to a fin pond that you had maybe even never seen before. That's kind of what's cool about these, is that they provide opportunities, maybe right in your backyard almost, so to speak. But then, so what we do in the program is we manage these ponds and lakes very similarly to high-profile fishing waters. The metro example is Minnetonka. It's a very famous lake, made famous by Prince. I think it has a song lyric that includes it, but it's certainly a very, very popular lake as far as the state of Minnesota goes. Anyhow, we manage these smaller fishing lakes, just like those higher profile waters, in the sense that we, a lot of times, place fish in these lakes so that people can catch them. And this little slide here is just pictures of some of the fish that we do stock. Now, fin lakes get stocked pretty regularly, as a matter of fact. They get stocked almost every year. A lot of them do. In the neighborhood of half of our lakes receive fish every single year. Some don't have to receive fish every year because they have a self-producing or self-reproducing population of fish. And this includes some of the more popular fish in the state. Of course, the state fish at the top of the slide are walleye. That's the one that is most recognizable. The most fished for, most targeted species is to the left is the much loved bluegill, but also includes largemouth bass. We do have several trout lakes in our area and in our program as well, and also northern pike. Now, this isn't an all-encompassing slide of the fish you might encounter in some of these lakes, but it highlights some of the more popular ones that you might see, and we put those fish in the lakes for you to catch. The other thing we do to manage these areas, these lakes, is to provide ways for someone to get to water that they could fish, and that's access for fishing. And the most recognizable form of that is in the form of fishing piers. These to the left, there's a T-style pier example, and this is at Sweetbriar Lake in Elko New Market, is where that picture was taken. But if this is a good clue, if you see a pier like this for fishing, it's not a boat dock, as you'll notice the higher sides and kind of some of the cutouts where you can cast. There's a good chance that body of water is actively managed for fishing and that there's fish in the body of water. This also includes walks and accesses to get to these things. And up in the upper right-hand corner, you have an example of a fishing block, and that's just another cut-in of shore vegetation in a stone block where you can stand by or on and near to be able to cast into the water to fish. The lower right-hand corner is another style of pier. It's a boardwalk style pier, and that's at Jeffers Pond in Prior Lake Savage area. But that's a big part of what we do as well. And we do a lot of outreach. This event that you're with me for today, as an example of some of the outreach that we do, but we like to teach people how to fish. Most of our events, the participant has a rod and reel in their hand, and we're at the lake and we're fishing and teaching folks the skills that you need to fish. And the reason I bring this up, it's very important to us, not only to introduce the lakes in the program, but also just the impact that it has. And the kind of, in a way, kind of the joy that we bring to participants, a lot of which are fishing for the first time. And I mentioned this to have a look at the photos here. This is from an event that we had some years ago. And this happens to be a pretty powerful slide when I've presented about the fin program, because you see the smiling faces, you see, well, we had a nice weather day too, so that kind of helps out a ton. But a lot of the folks pictured here, this is their first, second, maybe this day we had a really good day, maybe the 12th fish that they caught on their first day of fishing. So it kind of gives you an idea. You see a diverse group of people here and a big group of people kind of getting together, enjoying nature and experiencing that through fishing. And it brings out some nice smiles to people. This is there's going to be another video to be shared here. This is a young man at that particular event that I had been referencing, and his name was Didi, and he was really just a sharp guy, and was really talkative and was really excited about it. I thought it might be a good idea to do a short interview with him, and he agreed to do it. And I do like to show this video too at the talks that I give, because if you were there, you could really kind of feel his enthusiasm for fishing. And the idea is to hope that I inspire you to partake and take a kid fishing weekend with this, but also to see kind of like the real kind of the joy that this young man got from it. Plus, he was just a really smart guy, and he could probably do this presentation better than I could as far as speaking goes. But I'll share Didi's video with you, and this is what he had to say. Now, I wasn't really trying to lead him to his answers. These are all his own thoughts on how it was to fish for the first time. So hopefully you found Didi's take on fishing to be, if not inspiring, at least entertaining. I thought it was a really cool interview that I had. Now, I'm not wishing away summer with this slide, so please please don't feel ill will towards me for showing you ice fishing. But the point I'm making here is this is a big part of our program as well, to illustrate the fact that fishing is a year-round activity. And it produces a lot of the same smiles that you saw in the open water summer type fishing things too. But it's also something that we do, and also something that a lot of different participants, families, schools, things like that, take part in with us. So when you kind of get into fishing, when you take it on, it's something that you could do pretty much all year long here. So I wanted to kind of make that point with this slide, but I'm not wishing away summer. I really want to enjoy every moment we have in the nice warm weather, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So getting to the meat of the issue here, how do we find places to fish? Oops, sorry about that. How do we find places to fish? And this is a question that I get quite a bit that I placed here on this slide. There are fish in that pond. Most often we're at a fishing event, we're fishing with participants, fish are being caught and you could actually see them, and passersby never knew that that place was actively managed for fishing. It's a park pond, stormwater pond, things like that. And a lot of our ponds are that way. But one way that you could find out just by being a passerby is looking for our logo and signage. And this is an example of one here. If you see this sign on a post and there's a pier in the lake, there's fish in that lake. That's one thing I can kind of guarantee as far as our program is concerned. It talks to you a little bit about the lake, talks to you a little bit about the fin program itself. But this is a good way to just, if you're just happening along and there's a lake that maybe you've seen a bunch, maybe you didn't look close enough to see this sign, maybe go look for them. If you see this, that's a good place to start. Now that's kind of tough to do those. You don't have time to go all over the cities and kind of look for these signs. So we're going to help you a little bit to hone your search here. So the best publication that we have is something that we do new editions of when we have big changes to the program. And this is a relatively new edition. It's the fourth one, is our Fin Youth and Family Fishing Guide. This catalogs every single lake that's in the Fishing in the Neighborhood program. It's also linked. The PDF file is linked right here as to where you can find that. It's also in the chat. The hard copy version, my contact information is at the end of this presentation. So I could also put that up in the chat in our Q&A session. If you request one from me, I could get you some. These are available through central office at the state fair. These are really, really popular. It lists all the fin lakes and locations. We added size of the lake information, so that's going to be in acres, lets you know how big the lakes are. The trout lake section and our trout ID. Those are the things that are new if you're familiar with the older versions of this guide. But this is the main catalog of our program. Now, what we have here is inside, it's broken down by county. It's in alphabetical order for the lakes that are in the county. It shows generally on the map where they are, but each individual lake has its own half a page. It shows the cross streets and highways of where to get to them, where the lake is located. It gives you a picture of the fishing pier usually to give you an idea of what the accommodations are there. And it talks to you about everything from the fish in the lake and to what's around the lake. So a lot of this is also geared towards outdoor recreation of various kinds. A lot of these lakes are in parks, have playgrounds, grills, picnic shelters, and things like that. So while it's, we're talking mainly about fishing here, this is, kind of a group or family day outdoors. And there's a lot of things for people who are interested in different ways to recreate outside. And this is a good way to kind of see what's around the lake. So you could make a day of it. Also, there's some other cool features to the book, most of which I didn't want to go page by page here, but this is the general layout, but it has fish identification information. So if you do go fishing for the first time, you can look in your book to see, to identify the types of fish that you're catching. And also it lets you catalog the fish that you've caught. If you notice, if you look real close to the pictures on the right, it says my largest bluegill. That's the top fish there on the page. My largest bluegill caught, and you can write down your biggest bluegill that you caught if you measured it. And it also shows the state record there too. So some cool information there, but it's a pretty neat book and it's a really good resource to have. So if you're like me, I really like the hard copies of things. I'm what you might call an analog kind of person. Digital sometimes gives me trouble, but we have a presence online. We have a Fin website, which is once again on the bottom of the slide here, and we'll have it in the chat as well. But this is a hub for all the information, and it has my favorite feature of the entire website, and it's what we're talking about is how to find places to fish. It has clickable maps in the sidebar on the left-hand side of the page. You can scroll down and it will say where to go. It has all the metro counties. You simply click on the county name, depending on where you'd like to fish or the county you live in, whatever it may be. And sorry about that, went a little too far there. It will bring up the map of the county. Each one of the circles that you see, there's circles that are filled in and circles that are open, is a clickable kind of area on the map with the lake name. Now, the ones that are closed in are the ones that are actually designated in the Fin program. Those are fin lakes. The other ones are lakes that are known and cataloged to have shore fishing opportunities, whether that's fishable shoreline, piers, fishing blocks, and things like that. All you do is click on the name of the lake or the point location, and it brings up pretty much what you saw in the Fin guide, a whole profile of the lake, the picture, the cross streets, the synopsis of the lake. And the other cool feature about this is if you kind of start to get into things like the information about the fish, some of the biological information that we collect is linked to this, to where you can see that a particular fish species that you like or have heard about and you want to target, this will tell you if they're abundant in the lake in question or the lake that you're researching here. It'll tell you the average length of those fish in the lake and the biggest fish that we caught in the most recent survey. And this is one from Taft Lake. It's in Richfield. And this is, it is an actual fin lake. These are the species lists of fish that showed up in that recent survey. That's when we go in and we will go use nets to catch fish over like a 2 or 3 day span. We do this not super frequently, about every 5 to 10 years in these lakes, maybe closer to 10, because they don't really change that much. But that gives us an idea of the status of the fishery. It's available right here. So if you really like bluegill, you'll see that on Taft Lake, there's a low abundance of bluegill. And they don't get all that big, 7 inches, but maybe I like northern pike. Well, high density of northern pike, and the average size is 24 inches long. That's a bit bigger. That's a bit bigger fish for most beginning anglers. And there was a 31-inch fish caught there, if you look at the northern pike line. But this gives you really good information, even if you don't know much about fish. The abundance descriptor is pretty simple. It's low, medium, and high, but it gets you some good information, and you can kind of know what's in the lake before you head out, and you can pick and choose where you want to go this way. Kind of completely shifting gears, but getting equipment is important. You know, you could go and look, and there's all these different lakes, and you could visit every one, or you could do all this information. I guess if you don't have a rod and a reel, or a string and a hook, rather, at least, it's hard to angle. That's the actual fishing we're talking about when we're talking about fishing. We're talking about angling. That's fishing with a rod and a reel. But there are resources that you can use to borrow poles. Now, this is also, once again, it's linked in the chat, and it's on the slide here. This is the most up-to-date list that we have linked through our Fin website as to where you could go to certain parks, community centers, where you could go and say, hey, I'd like to borrow a fishing pole, and at their stand or however, or their park offices, they can do that for you. And the contact information is listed there, so you can call and once again know before you go. This is the best way to kind of do it as far as the DNR knows. I do follow up with these relatively frequently to make sure they're still operating. One thing I also can do, you know, for my contact information, will help you with this, is I run a loaner program out of our office. There's a bit of a, there is a proviso or a caveat there. There's something that's important to note. I wish I could give everyone that would want a fishing pole to use. I have a lot of resources, but I don't have all those kinds of resources. However, if you have a group and an organization, and it doesn't have to be anything super formal, you could have a club that meets on Saturdays and you decide you want to go fishing as a club. There's church groups, Boy Scout groups, Cub Scout groups, whatever it may be. You can request to me, if you have 10 or more participants, I can loan you gear that we will have a sign out sheet for, and we'll arrange a pickup drop off, and I can help you fish with a group. And as long as I can accommodate you, usually I will. I wish I can, like I said, give all poles out to individuals, any individuals that would come through my office or give me a call. It's difficult to do because I wear a lot of different hats for the DNR, so I'm always kind of coming and going from the office. But I can usually accommodate groups. So in addition to the list that we have here, those are your options to get the gear you would need to go fishing. One other thing to note about that, and I don't like giving too many sales pitches, but the nice thing about angling is the truth is you don't need to have super advanced or sophisticated gear to do it and to have a lot of fun. Most fish that you can catch in the state, you can catch with very simple tackle, a bobber, a little weight, and a hook. And if you have that and you have some kind of bait, that can include actual bait from a bait store like worms, minnows, things like that. But it could be something as simple as a can of corn. Believe it or not, that's pretty effective bait a lot of times. But the poles and things like that, if you've borrowed one and you want to get into it, it may cost anywhere from about $15 to about $25 to get the gear that you need to go fishing. So that it's not nothing, but it's also not exactly a financial backbreaker. You don't need professional level tournament fishing gear to get into the sport, which I think makes fishing available to more people than some other outdoor sports that you might participate in. So I'm just trying to take the fear out of that aspect of fishing. So with that, here's my contact information. The best way to get a hold of me is via email. Like I said, I'm in and out of the office quite often. I always return my phone calls, but if you get an email to me, I will check it every day, multiple times a day, as I'm in and out of the office or near my computer, and I will get right back to you and we can have a dialogue with any information. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about fishing, especially because it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I get excited about. I love helping folks out to try to get them going if I can. And if I can't exactly help you, I know the people that can do a better job, at least within the DNR, than I can, or even organizations outside the DNR that have really good fishing information, groups that we work with and things like that. Consider myself a reasonably decent contact and somewhat of a friendly guy, so don't hesitate to email me with any questions or comments above and beyond the time that we have here. With that, I'll turn it over to the Q&A, and I'll take any questions that you all have, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Mario. We do have some questions, but Craig, I'm not able to see them for some reason. Are you able to see the questions that came up? And if you have a question, there's a Q&A feature off to the right. You can type your question in there.
I see a couple of them, Linda, and I think
now I see them.
Well, they're from some comments actually from
Okay,
Jeff,
yep.
and I'll touch on those quick because those are good points that I guess I didn't mention. Many state parks across the state have loaner poles and tackle, and that's I'm sorry I missed that. That is very important. And the cool thing about being in a state park, if Snelling, Fort Snelling State Park in the Metro is a great example of this. You don't need a fishing license at state parks throughout the year. So that's kind of an extension of what we're talking about here with the Take a Kid Fishing Weekend. That applies statewide. But within state parks, it's, you pay, I think there's fees to get into the parks a lot of times, at least for parking, but keep that in mind. And I'm not sure about all the nuances there, but if you're in a state park fishing in a body of water within a state park, you don't need a license throughout the year to fish.
Great. So if you have a question, go ahead and type it into question and answer. And in the meantime, I'll ask you a question, Mario. So if someone wanted to purchase equipment, but want to keep it on the less expensive side because they're just trying it out, would you recommend a combo package, or how would you pick that up, or what would you recommend?
That's a good question. I do actually, because a lot of what we use for our events are sold that way when we purchase them. And the nice thing about that is it takes away the element of having to know how to put line on a reel immediately, which there's a lot of ways to kind of find out how to do that, but that eliminates that task, which can be kind of difficult depending on what gear you use. But yes, pre-lined combos are going to be the most cost effective from my experience. And they're going to, like I said, that's another piece of, it saves you buying another piece of equipment, and it saves you a step in being prepared to fish.
Okay, great. And you can pick up a combo set at like a Fleet Farm, a local gas station even sometimes have them.
I mean, your local sporting goods stores, anywhere from Target to Walmart being the big ones, Shields, Fleet Farm. I recommend highly looking for local bait shops and utilizing them, because first and foremost, just as giving the benefit to small businesses. But I mean, there's a lot of places that you can get, and then of course it's with today the online shopping option is you could look them up anywhere from, I guess, whatever platform you like to use, Amazon down through whatever. They usually sell rod and reel combos, and you can have them delivered right to your house if things being the way they are. If you'd rather have things come to you, that's another option too. But you don't have to break the bank, certainly, to get started and have decent gear to get the job done.
The question came in, are there any fin opportunities up north in Duluth?
So the short answer is no, but the real answer is yes. Now, here's the no part of that. The no part of that is Finn is exclusive to the metro area, meaning that in name, that's the Minneapolis-St. Paul Urban Fishing Program in the DNR. However, any area, and there's 32 area fisheries offices throughout the state. If you can find the area fisheries office, there is a Minocqua representative in every office, and that's in the form of a fisheries specialist. So they have the same ability and facilities, polls, things like that, that they run education events like we do. And they also, just because it's not Finn, there are certainly any lakes that are managed for shore fishing opportunities throughout the state kind of act as these, places to fish. And it depends on how each individual area manages the resources and what resources that they have. But I think it's, you have some options up there between Hinckley, Duluth area office, and any of the nearby other fisheries offices where there's going to be a Minocqua representative. That's the kind of the statewide fishing education program that can, direct you to the resources similar to what we would have in the Finn program here. So I didn't want to be confusing, but in name, no. In the grand scheme of urban style fishing and fishing lakes, yes.
Jeff asked, what are some of your favorite spots in the metro area or even outstate to take your kids and fish, and why?
Oh, good question. Thanks. Well, I reside in Rosemount, Minnesota. So I am for shore fishing and for fin lakes, I'm kind of lucky because right to the north of me are some of the Egan lakes. And in my view, Thomas Lake, Black Hawk Lake, Cobblestone, which is right over here in Apple Valley, that's kind of the other direction. There's some pretty quality fish in there, especially bass. And since it's short and easy, I have a 7-year-old son who likes to fish with me most of the time. And I like to go to those ones that I mentioned. One of my favorite lakes is also close by for wintertime fishing is Holland Lake. It's also a fin lake in Egan, and it's stocked with trout. And those ones there. Outstate, there's a without, I hope anyone listening doesn't like leak to any of my friends, I guess, that I'm giving away the hot spots. I guess I don't mind because they're pretty nice guys anyway. But there's some lakes that surround Mille Lacs that are kind of some hidden gems, and one is Ann Lake. It's just I enjoy pike fishing. That's a lake that I like to go to. I guess it's to the south and west of Lake Mille Lacs. It's Ann Lake, and it's just a fun pike lake. There's a stream that runs into it, and it just sets up well for big northerns. And I've had a lot of fun fishing that lake. So that's one. I'm lucky enough to have a good friend that has some property on Park Lake in Mattawa, Minnesota. And that's a pretty cool lake too, because it kind of sets up as a really nice bass lake in the northern part of the state, which is the fish that I mainly fish for when I go is largemouth bass. That's a cool one. Western kind of west central part of the state, Wilmer Spicer. There's lakes. I enjoy being on Green Lake when I could be there. That's in Spicer right there. Nice swimming as well, but that's a pretty cool lake to fish. And there's some lakes nearby there that are pretty easy to find. George Lake, Lake Florida, and things like that I enjoy fishing as well. So those are just some off the top of my head. But I mean, there's so many good lakes that I really like visiting. This is the biggest one, but Lake Superior also too to me is just a cool place to explore. I have a lot of marine fisheries background, and big water appeals to me quite kind of a lot. And there's some areas up there that are actually decent for shore fishing. Around Knife River is a really good spot to shore fish for trout some of the time. So that's on the North Shore. It's kind of near two harbors, but that's a favorite spot of mine, Knife River. But yeah, there you go. I can't be here all day with this stuff, but
Yeah. So we have a couple more questions. Someone asked, when could I start fishing with decent gear with a group? how can I access lakes on the computer, and what is the website for county lakes? And I just want to remind everybody, if you open up the chat feature, inside the chat feature are all the links that Mario has provided us. So learn to fish links, the fish in the neighborhood links, the guide to fishing, which is a great one to find county lakes. And if you have a group of 10 or more, Mario said he could help set up a fishing outage with you. I also want to let people know that other groups in the metro area or even outstate, so I'm thinking of Three Rivers Parks District. I know they have family fishing events. They just had one last Friday. They're having more coming up in July. If you go on the Three Rivers website and look for fishing, just type in fishing, you'll see some family fishing programs coming up where they do have equipment to let you try it at first. Anything else you'd like to add to that question, Mario?
Yeah, just as far as like contacting me, mostly it's based on availability. I try to have between 100 and 130 rods and reels that are packaged in a way that I can lend out to folks. And I'm not, I don't, it's all like when I can arrange a pickup drop off. We our office is essentially, keeping in mind, unfortunately COVID protocols and things like that. We can do contact lists with things like that, but typically it's from out of our office. So if you contact me and you have a group and you want to take them fishing, and there's some, the one thing I will mention is maybe I should there will be some kind of qualifiers. So the best thing I could say is, like, as soon as you email me, we can at least have some dialogue about what your group is. If we like it to kind of be an organization, something that's a group that kind of is ongoing. That's why I mention scouts all the time, because once a troop is established, that tends to keep going as long as there's participants. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish I could be a guide service, but if it's just kind of like a one-off deal, where it's not kind of an established group, that's a little bit more difficult for me because I have a lot of requests for these things. But if it's something, like I said, if it's like a club through a church or school or even anything like that, then yeah, if you email me, we can get a dialogue going. We could see what works for you, and we could try to get you set up. So really, as soon as you email me, I can help work that out for you.
So Mario, our last question is, and it's a good one. It's like, are there any types of fish or size that you're able to keep? I assume they're talking about the fin program. Are you able to keep those?
Well, there's a lot of ways to answer this question, but yes, I mean, there's first of all, I'm an advocate of harvest within legal limits. So the first thing you got to do is obtain yourself a regulations book, or look for fishing regulations through the DNR website to make sure it'll have the species, how many you can keep. So there are limits. And then if there are size limits, it will also be profiled in that regulation section, either on the website or the book. So yes, you can legally harvest fish, certainly on Take a Kid Fishing Weekend, because that's what we're focusing on. So know the rules, read the signage at the accesses, because we're mandated to post those if there are any special considerations and regs that you need to know. But lakes that are stocked into fin lakes are commonly tested for consumption. So if that's a concern here, they're sourced clean, and they are safe to eat unless it's posted, and that information has to be made public. So to my knowledge, at this point, there's no major consumption advisories. And yes, you may harvest fish out of fin lakes if you once again are within the limits and regulations, and you want to eat the fish that you've caught. That's totally up to the individual. Like I said, I'll always come back to this. If it's within the law and you'd like to try to eat that fish, then that's up to you to do that. For me personally, I fish for largemouth bass a lot. I don't, it's almost never at this point that I keep largemouth bass. I fish for bass for sport, and I don't particularly like the way they taste. That's just my choice. But could I harvest one if I wanted to prepare it to eat? Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Mario, thank you very much for coming on and talking about the FIN program. And I encourage everyone that this is a great weekend to go out and try fishing for the first time. Adults do not need a license if they have a child age 15 or younger with them. It starts this Friday, June 11th, and runs all the way through Sunday. It's going to be beautiful weather to be out there and try fishing. And as Mario said, you only need a line, bobber, hook, and sinker to go fishing. We used to teach how to fish with pop cans. You tie a line around a pop can and then you can throw it out and get a fish. And as Mario said, a can of corn works just as good as worms that you might dig up in your backyard or bait that you get at a bait shop. So I encourage everyone to go out there and try fishing this weekend. And thank you, Mario.
Linda, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who spent their time with me. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you sticking with me through it.
Okay, we're going to end the recording, and Mario will go in the back room and chat for a minute. But thank you all for joining this webinar, and we'll have another webinar next Wednesday. Thank you, everybody.